Okay, we might start then. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming. It's really good to see you all. And some of you from last night already we met. So my name is Felicity Colman. I'm a professor in film and media arts at Kingston University in London. And I'm the project coordinator, leader for this work that we're doing on the ethics of coding the human algorithmic condition. Well, it was a sort of it's a project that's come out of work that the consortium started developing when we worked on a new materialism project that we're still working on, and the chair of that project is Iris van der Toon from Utrecht University, and she's here waiting. You'll see her speaking later on. And we've been working on that for nearly 4 years now. And there's a number of sort of ideas that have been generated from that. And we're also here, I just want to point out the other project coordinators, Aislinn O'Donnell, Professor Aislinn O'Donnell, who's at Maynooth University in Dublin, and of course Professor Ria Gulman, who's here in Vienna, who's graciously hosting us. So thank you very much, Ria, and to everyone who's helping put this event on. So I just should say we have a change of running order today because one of our speakers, Antoinette Rouvoy, was not able to make it for illness reasons. So Eli Ayashi has kindly agreed to do his speech first, but then we will follow the order with a lunch break at 12 o'clock. So please stay all day. We'll have lots of time for discussion and questions and so on. So the aim of this project, I just want to sort of introduce it to you for some of you that don't know what it's about. It was, as I said, it's come out of work we did on thinking about new materialism, which is really, we were looking at the Canberra question. How is it that matter comes to matter? What does that actually mean? So the project was written as a response to a call from the European Commission in the area of responsible research and innovation in ICT issues. And this is a field that I've been working on for a number of years. And the focus is on thinking about ethics in relation to technology, but ethics in relation to the production and formation of different forms of knowledge and how that's radically shifted when we introduce aspects of digitised society and the abstractions that are caused by algorithmic conditions. So this year the project is running a series of 4 colloquia which are generating a report on these algorithmic conditions. That's one of the big aims. So we already did one in Utrecht looking at the idea of social coding. This one here in Vienna, we're thinking about the ethics of coding itself. We're looking at codes and formulas, the idea of cryptocurrencies, what the question of digital citizenship might be, talking about the acquisition of privacy, different kinds of architectonic issues, and the idea of what is the speed of thought in itself. Our third colloquia, which will be in Maynooth, is on the pedagogy of coding and the implications therein. And the final one, which will be at Kingston, will be a summary colloquium on our findings. And we already know what our findings will be, which is we're going to propose that we need to introduce the idea of a quantum literacy to deal adequately with the issues that the researchers raised. So in thinking about what we've already thought about, the social coding, which was the first aspect of thinking about these conditions of coding, what we asked were a series of questions around what might that mean, social coding, what does it contribute to the creation of new forms of knowledge, what are the models and conditions that enable things and forms that societies take, given, how do they arise, given the way that algorithms feed into the way societies are formed, and what are then the ethical systems that are generated by these conditions. So in consideration of this idea of social coding, we took a working hypothesis that if we're communicating in units of data through specific sets of algorithms, instructions that organise procedures, then that algorithmic condition is altering knowledge forms. And then therefore different epistemic and classificatory fields by the forms of informatics that are generated and the fields of possibilities that are then enabled. So we started to consider these algorithmic conditions in one way, which was through the lens of Hannah Arendt and her notion of the vita activa, which in her 1958 address of what the framework for her of a 20th century ethics could be, and how that is set in the context of post-World War, a mid-century booming information society. Think of the cybernetics era, think of Norbert Weiner's investigations then. So she's thinking about the non-productive labour of actions of this society, the actions of speech and thought, and what can they mean in that kind of context. And for us, that sort of opened up methods for consideration of what an active, coherent and self-organising matter of the human condition could be. So this is sort of some of the issues that we raised there. One of the key things that came out of social coding event was speaking with Rosie Bradotti about the importance of considering the European Union as a project, and to really put any notion of Euroscepticism to one side, to sort of be able to think deeply about what the European Union as a project might be. And to look and think about the history of the infrastructure of the European Union in kind of a deeper sense. So from this, just to sort of summarise and set up where we're going today, we've already begun to explore the algorithmic conditions that give rise to a social coding. And we've noted that in the language that's used, and there are a number of people researching in this area already, the way that this condition is described shifts between two main points. The first one is thinking about algorithmic conditions as informatic codes, and these informatic codes are generative of novel forms, new things, new concepts, which we can then think of in terms of their material semiotic infrastructures that then give rise to the second way that algorithmic conditions have been characterised or are characterised in terms of algorithmic conditions being used as ethical material, ethical matter, which are expressed as political, positional, economic, social measurement and governance tools. So we have these two kind of ways that I'm sure you've all sort of considered this algorithmic governance, which is what Antoinette Rouffaut was going to talk about, is feeding on these two levels. So this is where we are. So we're going to think through these kind of two levels in a number of ways. And let me hand the floor over now to Elia Ashiu.